The day I confessed to my husband that he could never satisfy me the way my past lover once had, the air in the room shifted into a suffocating stillness. It wasn't silence as I'd known before. It was something heavier, something that seemed to press against my chest, as though I had hurled a grenade into the very center of our marriage and was now standing frozen, waiting for the inevitable explosion. But the explosion never came. I had expected his eyes to brim with tears, his hands to tremble, maybe even an angry outburst, shattered dishes, harsh words, a storm of pain unleashed in fury. Instead, what I received was far worse. His lips curved into a slow, deliberate smile, one that was sharper than any blade. It wasn't the smile of forgiveness, nor the smile of someone hiding hurt. It was the smile of release, the expression of a man who had finally been granted the excuse he'd been waiting for. That smile pierced me deeper than any shouted word ever could. Without a word, he rose from his seat and pulled a suitcase from the closet, as though he had already been planning this moment, anticipating its arrival. His movements were precise, unhurried, every fold of a shirt a quiet declaration that this was no rash decision. He had thought of leaving before. He had considered it carefully. My words had simply become the final, undeniable confirmation that he was right to go. Panic consumed me. I stumbled over myself, desperate to take it back. I insisted I hadn't meant it, that my temper had flared, that it was nothing more than a slip of the tongue. But deep down I knew I was lying to us both. Those words had been simmering inside me for years, laced with venom, waiting for their chance to escape. And once spoken, they could never be unsaid. He didn't argue. He didn't even look at me with anger. He simply kept packing, methodically, calmly, as if he were closing the last chapter of a book that had long since lost its meaning. When he zipped the suitcase shut, the sound was final, like the last nail in the coffin of our marriage. He met my eyes and with a voice steady and low said, "You've finally given me the reason I was waiting for." Then he walked out. His back was straight, his steps even, and there was no hesitation in the way he left. The silence he left behind screamed louder than any slammed door. I wanted to collapse at his feet, beg for his forgiveness, claw at him to stay. But in my heart I already knew. He had left me long before that night. For months, maybe years, I had been cruel, chipping away at him piece by piece, comparing him to a man who had never truly loved me, testing his patience, exhausting his spirit. He endured it all quietly, with dignity, until I finally pushed him beyond a point from which there was no return. At first, I convinced myself he would come back. No husband could leave so completely, I told myself. He only needed time. But as days turned to weeks, and weeks into months, reality took shape. He wasn't cooling off, he was erasing me. Slowly, deliberately, he removed me from his life. Our shared bank accounts were closed. His name vanished from our lease. He asked our mutual friends to stop bringing him into my chaos. He even cut off ties with my family, ensuring there was no lingering connection. And he did it all without a single outburst. No tantrums, no bitter words, just silence. A silence that hurt more than anger ever could. I bombarded him with calls, messages, pleas. Sometimes I begged. Sometimes I raged. Sometimes I pretended not to care. He never answered. My existence no longer required his acknowledgement, and that truth hollowed me out from the inside. For so long, I had believed he needed me more than I needed him. I believed I could wound him, test him, break him down, and he would always remain, patient, forgiving, waiting. I was wrong. His strength lay in his ability to walk away without breaking, to preserve his self-respect when I had lost mine. In my desperation, I turned back to the man I had once placed on a pedestal, the lover I had foolishly held above my husband. I thought rekindling that old flame would justify everything, that it would give me back the passion I claimed to be missing. But when I showed up, broken and raw, he looked at me with indifference. He laughed, dismissing me as a fleeting distraction, a mistake from his past. In that moment, I finally saw the truth. The man I had compared my husband to had never valued me. He had only used me. And in chasing the ghost of that illusion, I had destroyed the one person who truly loved me. Now I live with emptiness. Each morning I wake in a bed that feels colder and larger than it should. My phone is filled with photographs of him. His smile, his quiet presence, and I scroll through them like an addict craving a lost high. Every picture drags me back to that final day, when he walked away without hesitation, without looking back, without begging me to stop him. That memory is a wound that will never close. Sometimes I still see him from a distance. He looks different now, lighter, freer, as if shedding me had lifted a burden he carried too long. He looks alive. Part of me aches to run to him, to beg, to fall on my knees and confess how deeply I regret what I've done. But I know it's pointless. His eyes no longer carry the warmth they once held. Instead, they shine with freedom, strength, and a quiet kind of retribution, the proof that he can flourish without me. And that, perhaps, is the cruelest punishment of all. Not his anger, not his tears, but his absence. To be erased, forgotten, as though I never truly mattered. I once told him he could never measure up to my ex. The truth, now clear as day, is that my ex could never come close to the love my husband gave me. What I had with him was not just passion. It was safety, loyalty, and an unwavering devotion that I will never find again. And I destroyed it, blinded by pride and poisoned by comparison. Now, I am left only with the echo of my own words, words that burned down the life I once had. I am broken, hollow, and alone, with nothing but the silence of my own making.